of Education special meeting, May 28th, 2020. Will the clerk please conduct roll call?
Amy O'Brien,
Here.
Spiros Tomatoes,
Here.
Mary Collins,
Here.
Mike Vavra,
Here.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Lynn.
Lynn, can you say you're here?
Here.
Thank
We
you.
have a quorum.
Okay. I, Erin McMullen, Board Clerk, have confirmed with Council that this meeting is being held in compliance with Executive Order 202.1, issued by Governor Andrew M. Cuomo on March 12, 2020. The Executive Order suspends Article 7 of the Public Officers Law to the extent necessary to permit any public body to meet and take any action authorized by law without permitting in-public, in-person access to meetings and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar services. This meeting is being held remotely via Zoom virtual meeting software. The public has the ability to view or listen to this meeting live via the Zoom app, web browser, and/or by telephone. This meeting is being recorded and it will be transcribed at a later date.
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, and one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2.1, President's Report. Okay, the health insurance. We have a lot to discuss, a lot to iron out. I've spent the entire day going over line by line, item by item, what was sent out, and we have to discuss it. So I guess my first question is, who created the letter that went out to the retirees?
It was created by Humana, ENV, and it was looked over by the district and Chris Wilkinson, myself. The district, myself, I'm the district, and Chris Wilkinson.
Okay, because to my understanding, it was supposed to be a very simple thing. And as I'm looking over the letter that was sent out, there was nearly, if not more, 50 areas that required initialing. 50 areas. As I understood it, it was supposed to be a simple statement with a simple signature. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how we got to this. And thinking of, you know, somebody in their 80s and 90s looking at this and the panic that must have risen. So why 50 initial? Let's start, I guess, I know I'm all over the place. I'm just a little overwhelmed right now, but why did it require to be initialed in 50 places? Let's start there. So you said it was ENV and Humana that wrote the letter. So can ENV and Humana speak to that?
Hi, this is Kristen Wall with ENV.
Hi,
I would
Kristen.
like to clarify that ENV wrote the letter. Humana did not write the letter.
Okay.
This was a letter, this was a process that was duplicated from another school district that
Okay.
did the same thing, that offered their retirees to remain in their active plan or to move to a Medicare Advantage plan.
Mhm.
And the premise behind the signature is we took what was presented in the Zoom meetings, the chart of all the benefits that we went over, and just asked the retirees to initial everything that was went over during the Zoom meetings, where we went over the pluses, the minus, and the equals to. So that was the premise of it, and that's what we used for our other districts. So we duplicated that and sent it over for the district to review, and that's what was sent out.
So then this is a process that was done before. So I guess we knew, or rather ENV knew it wasn't really a simple statement that it was going to go out, because that's not simple.
We never talked about simple. We just said there would be a form to complete. I participated in all the 9 Zoom meetings. We never got into the specifics of the form. So
Okay.
we just duplicated the process.
Okay, I am.
Wasn't it referred to in the meeting with the Blue Cross Blue Shield? That it would be simple? If I recall.
I don't recall that per se. I don't remember. I mean, we participated in 10 meetings, so I apologize. I don't know the exact, but I do believe that we did not say it was a simple, but we duplicated a process and submitted it to the district for final authorization to be sent out.
Okay. Yeah, I was very uncomfortable with that, and I'm going to go item by item. And I also was uncomfortable with the language next to each box of coverage. It said, I understand I'm forfeiting equal coverage. I just think to myself, what would my grandmother, God rest her soul, she's dead, what would she have thought if she was going through this line by line that she has to initial, I understand I'm forfeiting equal coverage? Why that language?
Forgive me, I didn't develop the form, but it was just
Okay.
the language was recognizing that, you know, during the Zoom meetings, we went over all those coverages and the coverage was equal to or better than the current Excelis plan. There was one area for international coverage that was not, that was the only minus. So I can understand your point. It was just, we did advise everyone that everyone would be put into Humana unless they opted out. So in our mind, you're forfeiting the Humana coverage and going back to it or remaining with Excelis. So that's where that, you know, it wasn't meant to cause harm or undue stress. We went through the same process with another school district, and had we had the same reaction, we would have altered that. We did not have that reaction with the other school district.
Okay. And can we speak to, or can you speak to rather, the contradicting statements, dates, and procedures? And this may not be directed to you, but there were the opt-out form in one letter said the opt-out form submitted to the Chenango Forks business office by June 1st. On the same piece of paper at the bottom, it says mail your completed opt-out form to ENV Insurance.
Yes, that was definitely a regretful error. In 3 spots, the letter to the retirees said to send the form to my attention at ENV. The opt-out form on the front page said to send it to my attention at ENV. And on the very bottom, there was the contradictory. So that was our error. It was regrettable. We had a couple different iterations of the form and the due dates, and the district wanted to have the further out due date. So that was definitely our error, and our apologies for that confusion. But it was, you know, a human error in that part.
I appreciate you speaking to that. So you also recognize the 2 dates that were also mentioned, June 1st and June 15th?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Okay.
That's
So this is messy. And my concern is, and I understand human error, and I err on a regular basis. So I understand that can happen. My concern today is what we have at hand, and this is messy. It's unclear, and I feel like we're having our retirees jump through hoops to stay where they are. And I think of it like this, and I know here I go again with my goofy analogies, but if I'm 100 pounds overweight and I want to lose weight, I'm going to take steps to lose it. If I'm 100 pounds overweight and I want to stay 100 pounds overweight, I'm not going to do anything. Same concept applies to this. In my opinion, I am one person. If there are retirees that don't want to make a change and don't want to do anything, why are we asking them to do so much? So what I'm proposing to our board is that we scrap what we've already sent out and redo our process and the procedure to simplify it with retirees in mind. I believe we need to reverse and simplify it, the method, and keep it simple. If people want to switch, then they fill out the form. If those who want to stay, they do nothing. I truly believe we have caused a lot of undue stress, and I'm not pointing fingers at any one person or committee or organization. However, it is our duty to correct what has happened. So I'm asking the board how we're going to correct this.
I'd like-
Would you mind if I jump in? This is Cindy Wise with Humana.
Mhm.
From our standpoint, we underwrote this as if the entire group was moving over, knowing as we moved into this, there was a lot of consternation about people making a switch. So we agreed that some of those people could opt out. If you move back in, if you change the process as you've just suggested,
Mhm.
I just have to run that by my underwriters. I'm not sure. It changes the whole dynamic of the meeting or of the change, because retirees, as you can imagine, they don't make a change unless they need to make a change. It's just human nature, they don't. If they're used to paying $5,000 a month, they'll continue to pay $5,000 a month because they've just always done it, even if there's something else out there that's better for them. So I think that there would be some rating changes if we were to change that methodology. And I'd like to run that by my shop. And not saying we can't, I'm just saying there's a concern on our side for the way we rated it.
Just to clarify, retirees don't want to keep the same thing just to keep it. That's not the way they think. They keep it because it meets their needs. So it's not a matter of retirees not wanting to move over. It's a matter of them wanting a choice, and they chose one. And this is another one added to it. But please don't think that all older people just don't want any kind of change.
That's just our experience from doing it on a personal choice like that for tens of thousands of people. Unless there's a reason, they just tend to stay where they're at.
Okay.
And it's just been our experience.
Is there an expectation that a certain number of people were going to be moving over? And what happens if they don't?
Well, and that's why I wanted to go back to my underwriting, because there was an expectation that everybody would. And then when we knew that some people wanted to opt out, we still held the rate. So if we leave it that it's now only people who choose to move to go over, I don't know what it would do to the number, but I know I need to run it by my underwriter to make sure that they would be in agreement to that.
Okay, but if we don't change the wording, we leave it the way it is, and 50% of the people decide to go back to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, is that rate still going to stand with Humana?
Yes, we made an agreement that we would do that.
Okay.
But if we went to what you had suggested, I'm afraid that changes the dynamic a little bit more than I'm comfortable with, unless I went back and got it approved.
Understood. So let's discuss how we simplify this, because what went out was not simple. It was not simple. We need to make this very, very simple.
Amy, I did talk to ENV, and I believe it was Kristen I spoke with. It was through email, and I said, we need a very simple letter to send to the retirees. And that letter, I believe I sent it to all 5 board members this morning. And basically all you have to do is sign your name to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Is that correct?
Yep. I apologize, I don't have it to share, but it does say you're putting your name, your date of birth, your phone number, your signature, and your spouse's name, and that's all that it requires.
Okay, so if we do that, then we need to somehow cancel out everything that's already out there.
Well, I did draft a letter, and for those folks that have already returned, I put in the letter that they wouldn't have to fill out a new form, because I thought that would be cumbersome for those folks, because I've received 22 forms back to date. I've spoken to between 40 and 50 retirees myself, who I know that there are some forms on their way. So my thought was, if you've already completed the form or mailed it in, you wouldn't need to complete a new form. But for those that wanted to have a simpler form, we're sending one out, and you can fill that out and send that to me as well. I also did, when I spoke to several retirees who did not want to complete the initialing of those several boxes, I reached out to Mark Petrino at the district to ask if it would be okay if they didn't send those back, and he said yes. So many retirees said that they were going to do that as well, and a couple of them have sent that, and we accepted them, and I just marked them down as remaining with Excelis. So I just wanted to put that out there as well. You know, for those that have already completed the form, you know, why could we just keep what they have on file? Because it's clearly their indication that they want to remain with Excelis.
Okay.
Aaron, can you give me the rights to share the screen? I will show the
I
board
was just going to ask you that. Yep.
the attendees, the letter.
Are you going to put
All
that?
right, to do it, I have to just click on all panelists right now. So if we just let Joe control, that would be great.
Mhm.
Okay, let me know when I can take over. Okay, hold on.
I think you're good. Oop.
That is the new form.
You just have to bring it down a little bit too, Joe.
I'm sorry about that. So I'll, again, name, print, date of birth, phone number, signature, date, and then if your spouse is included, your spouse's name. So
And this replaces everything that's already been received for those who haven't sent it in yet. Is that correct?
that
Yes.
can happen, Amy, but I don't believe you're gonna get simpler than that.
Okay, this is good. This is simple, but those forms are still out there. So how do we have to take action to allow this to replace that, correct?
Which would be a second mailing to the retirees.
There was a cover letter that went along with this, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Hold on, let me see if I can bring that. I think this is the one dated May 27th, Kristen.
Yes.
Let me go back to my Zoom. Can everyone see the letter?
Yes.
Okay.
One thing is, can we check the June 10th date? Because June 10th is a Wednesday.
Joe, I sent you a revision early yesterday for that. So I do have it as Wednesday, June 10th.
All right, hold on.
So that has been corrected.
Got so much on my desktop, I apologize. Is that the right one? Wednesday.
There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. Like I
Hey.
said,
Kristen, can you send that to me as well? This is Cindy.
Yeah.
Okay, board, what does everybody think?
I don't think you get much simpler than what
Yeah,
they have now.
Okay,
That new one's pretty simple.
Lynn and Mary, thoughts?
Go ahead, Lynn.
I mean, yes, that form is simple. I just hope we don't confuse people more, but it sounds like Kristen's doing a good job of handling their calls and taking care of things on her end.
Mary?
As long as I may not have caught all of it, as long as it doesn't say that we know we're giving up equal or better coverage. Was that
Not
in it?
at all.
Oh,
Nope.
good. Thank you.
As long as it can clearly state that it's replacing the other forms, I am okay with that too. And I guess my second question would be, when is this going to be mailed out? Because June 10th is just a few short days away.
Aaron, is our postage machine still down or is it back up?
Nope, they fixed it this afternoon.
Then Amy, we could get it out in the morning.
Okay. All right. Was there any other comments by the board? Concerns by the board?
Do we need Chris Wilkinson? I asked Chris to be on the call for this, particularly he has another meeting at 5:30.
Yep.
Need Chris for anything else at this point?
I just want to let you know, we do have 5 people with their hands up to speak regarding this.
Yep. If the board and Chris don't have anything, I do want to open it up to comment related only to the health insurance at this time. There will be time later in the meeting for additional public comment. So please keep your questions and comments related only to this subject.
Chris, hang around for a few more minutes if you can.
Okay, I'm going to allow people to talk in order, and if you would just state your name when you talk, please. I'm going to go and have Bob speak. Bob is on.
Go ahead, Bob.
If you can
Hello?
talk.
Hello?
We can
Yes.
hear you.
Yes, hello, we can hear you.
Okay. I've got another solution for you that will simplify what has been done. When there's more than one insurance benefit offered as an option, the authority to choose is assumed by the retiree, not the Board of Education. So what I would suggest you do, you have E&V send out a packet with the information about Humana and include in that packet a form where we can opt into Humana. If the form isn't returned, everybody stays on the current insurance they're on. Can't get simpler than that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bob. Now, I do believe Cindy just addressed that, that it would change the underwriting or could change the underwriting.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's certainly going to change the underwriting because the Chenango Forks Board of Education based their decision on enrolling everyone.
Yeah, correct.
And not everyone wants to be enrolled. So we're being pushed, bullied into this thing. So make it right. Make it so that people can choose because you gave us 3 choices. I don't want the Board of Education to choose for me. I'll make that choice.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, I'll go to the next person.
Amy, can you make sure they state their full names?
Absolutely.
Okay, now we have Debra. If you could please state your full name.
Oh my gosh, didn't expect to talk. This is Debra Abbey, former employee of Chenango Forks. Took me a little bit to go through the forms, but in the end, I knew that it didn't matter what the yeses or nos were or the checks were. I knew that I really worked really hard for the coverage that I had, and I really didn't want to change. So I guess I kind of, as an art teacher, kind of blew through the other stuff knowing that I just wanted to change. And thank you so much for working so hard to give us as retirees that option to stay with what we work so hard to keep. And thank you again. That's all I can say. Okay, bye.
Thank you, Deborah.
Okay, now we have Pat Lawton.
Hi, Pat. Go ahead.
I think you just need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, yeah, I'm a district resident and I'm a teacher for close to 40 years. And I agree that, you know, people have worked a long time for this. And Amy, I've got to make a joke. You don't have to 80 or 90 to be confused over this paperwork. You can be 60 or 65. And I do believe that I attended every single town hall meeting except for possibly one, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure if I missed one. And I do think that Mary Collins mentioned something about when the Blue Cross man was there, the representative, it was supposed to be a simple thing. I hear this word from several different people. And again, this is a very emotional topic. I am not blaming anyone. I'm just being honest and sharing my feelings. I agree with Bob wholeheartedly with what he said. And I know that retirees have sought legal counsel and have been advised not to sign that paper and to, you know, initial it. And I know we've kind of moved, you know, what are we going to do to rectify that? But we are in this situation because a lot of assumptions were made. And I'm sorry. I mean, did the school board know about this letter? I don't believe so. I guess I want to educate myself and become more knowledgeable. I'm attending almost every board meeting that I can. That being said, there's an incentive in that letter, which again, you know, I agree with some of the retiree letters that I have read because I've got Ron here and I've been able to read the thread. The word coerced was used, in manipulation. And, you know, those are strong words, but I went to all these meetings and never once heard about an incentive. And to me, it's not about that incentive because I'm advising my husband to stay with Excelis because I believe that's the better plan. And, you know, I think, is it Kristen, you know, you made some comment, oh, I don't know where my notes are here. We have educated the people and there's going to be a rating change. And, you know, you made that assumption on those rating changes or on your, you know, your package probably that we were all going to switch over. And that caused a problem right there. And I think I lost my train of thought on that. I'm just concerned about the whole thing. And I agree with Bob. You know, if we're making this choice, what is so hard about simply saying, to me, it's much more involved to go to opt out of Excelis and to go to Humana and then switch back. It doesn't make sense. That's more paperwork. And I guess my one thing, and I don't know if this is important or not, but I've had people bring it up to me that on the, I believe the letter that we got in the mail for retirees, it's a PPO. Was that always a PPO? Because the information I saw at these other meetings, I don't ever remember seeing those words. And I do agree with Mrs. Collins, but I saw in this letter too about better coverage and equal coverage. That concerned me because that's again an assumption in some ways that to make sure that we're not giving up our rights. So when you flash that new letter on there, I just want to make sure, and you said it wasn't, that's very important because I just know that that's been discussed a lot. But I guess my question to the board is, if there's monetary issues, does that have to be addressed in a public meeting and voted on? So we get this letter with this incentive, and I'd like to know if that's something that the public has to be made aware of before the letter went out. And thank you very much for listening. And I do appreciate everybody working so hard on this.
Thank you, Pat. What is the answer regarding the $1,000 incentive? Can we speak to that $1,000 incentive when it was discussed and why it wouldn't need to be voted for?
Yep, Chris, you want to speak to that?
Hi, yes. So actually the $1,000 idea or more actually initially was proposed by, or the idea was brought forward by CFKA representatives, and they suggested, you know, as another form to help incentivize people to try out the new plan, at least for a year, that we come up with the type of incentive. Both parties agreed that it wasn't necessary to be added into the MOA because that's at the discretion of the board to make that decision.
When was that brought to the board? Forgive me. I don't know if it's COVID or 3 kids or what it is, but I don't remember the conversation about that. So can you all help me remember when that was talked about?
Chris talked about it at the last meeting and Cheryl talked about it and they said it was actually common. It was a common incentive. I believe he talked about it and showed us forms from a different school district that did it. Wasn't it? I want to say it was Unadilla Valley, wasn't it that, Chris? He showed us the forms and it had their name on it, and we made a comment that it had Unadilla Valley at the top of the form.
Okay, so this wasn't open session
I'm
discussion.
just trying to jog your memory. Remember, it was the form and it said Unadilla Valley, and we all said, you know, that's not us, and he used it in a different district, the same type of thing.
Okay, that was not open session discussion.
I don't remember if it was or not. I just remember the Unadilla Valley part. That kind of
No,
stuff.
it was definitely during executive session.
Okay, but that was when it was explained in detail about the incentive, and he said how it came about. Just trying to jog your memory, Amy.
Thank you, thank you. I remember seeing he screen shared it. I do remember seeing that. I'll be honest, I don't remember agreeing to the incentive. And that could be on me. I don't remember that.
But I guess the question is that something we should have voted on or not? And we're hearing from Chris and Joe that it was not something that needed to be voted on.
Correct, Lynn. It was, again, Chris, go ahead. I'll let you speak. You're the expert.
Actually, I see Cheryl's back on. If she's available, she can speak to it much better than I can.
Hi, everyone. I'm back. I'm sitting in the waiting room. I'm sorry. I'm catching part of the conversation. And I'm wearing a mask, so I'm a little muted. But I do recall this conversation. There was a consensus by the board at that point. If there's a concern, vote on it now. Add it to the agenda and vote on it. But there was a consensus of the board. And I think letters have gone out, correct? So there was a reliance upon that consensus, so.
Okay, okay, so then maybe we're in a place of human error. I just want to make sure we are crossing our T's and dotting our I's. Was that done correctly? Being it deals with money, and also is that budgeted in? This is new for me. This part is new. So did we do that correctly? Can anyone,
Are you asking Cheryl, myself, or Chris?
Anyone who has the answer. I don't know who to direct it to.
Well, I'm fine with what happened. If the board's not comfortable and the board wants to vote, then my concern is I'm assuming, and again, I apologize, I'm sitting in a Lord's Walk-in in Vestal. So jog my memory here, were letters sent? Is that the concern now, why the letters say something different than two of you remember?
The letters suggest $1,000 incentive.
I mean, I remember there was a very robust conversation. There was a very robust consensus. So the administration has to rely upon what the board does. So if the board's uncomfortable with the consensus, someone make a motion right now, a second and a vote to confirm the $1,000 incentive. Now, bear in mind, if the people who agreed disagree now, we're going to have some issues with the letters.
Right.
But Cheryl,
I mean, that's the
I got to
solution.
ask you, Cheryl, you remember, I remember this clearly. I think
I do.
you remember this. Chris remembers this. I don't understand. I guess I don't understand the disconnect, why we would need to have a vote on something that you said we don't need to vote on at the time, and now all of a sudden we would have to. I guess that's my.
No. I'm saying if the board is uncomfortable with the consensus and they're concerned that they didn't do it correctly, do it now.
But you're saying we did not do it.
I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to, and I think you're hashing something apart now that doesn't necessarily need to be hashed out, but to get a solution and some closure here, and I apologize, I don't mean to be short because I walked in the middle of the conversation, but if there's a concern that it wasn't done correctly, because I just provide counsel, so does Chris, make a motion and vote on it. I will tell you that if the vote comes out differently than the consensus, the board's going to have an issue.
Okay, I have a question for Mark. Is this budgeted in?
It's not going to be paid next year. It's going to be paid the following year.
The following year.
So
Okay, so there's,
following.
that's correct. I'm sorry. The payment will be made in 2021. Okay,
So
so there's still time to budget it.
Yes.
So the incentive is coming after they switch. So it's not really an incentive.
Because they have to stay, actually, if the incentive isn't to switch, the incentive is to remain for a year, right?
Right, but
Is that correct? Am I interpreting that correctly?
Remain with Humana for a year.
Remain for a year.
Then in July of 2020, which would be the next fiscal budget year, the retiree would have $1,000 payout. That's why it's not figured into this budget.
2021.
I'm sorry, your first 2021. It'd be in the 21-22 budget year.
Okay, I apologize for the ringing phone. I don't remember. I just don't remember this. I'm remembering the Unadilla Valley. I'm remembering it actually as being the early retirement incentive, separate from this. Which my memory can't always be relied on. So there's my disclaimer, but I just want to make sure. So you answered one of my questions. There's still time to budget this in. So that's a concern checked off. I just think this should have been discussed in open. I don't remember discussing this. I don't feel it's necessary to take a vote on it again, unless other board members feel it's necessary.
well, I don't think we followed the right process, in my opinion, because it is money that the public is questioning now in the community after thinking that we were going to lose teachers. So that's an issue in that respect. I don't remember agreeing to it. I don't remember a consensus. I just remember it being talked about briefly.
Yeah. Okay, we're in a sticky place right now because I don't remember it either. That said, if we can vote, as Cheryl said, and if we choose not to do it, then we have to think of the implications, because this is already.
Amy, I'm sorry, I gotta say something. Here's the thing. I'm just thankful Cheryl and Chris were in the meeting, because I'm really at a loss right now. I was there. I don't know. I want Mike to chime in and Lynn too. I don't understand how this was discussed at length. I mean, if you want to have a vote on it, I'm not opposed to it, but I'm just really troubled that all of a sudden, no, I don't want this to come out poorly, but I just don't understand how we could forget about this. This was discussed. I mean, are we just, if something, I expect if you don't understand something, and that goes for anybody, if somebody doesn't understand something, you say, hey, please explain this. We're paying a lot of money for legal advice. We've had Cheryl at every meeting lately. We've had Chris at many meetings. And if something you're not comfortable with, you don't just agree. And I'm wondering, is that what's going on? Because this has been happening a lot, that details keep coming back up of stuff that we talked about. And I guess that's where I'm at a loss. And again, I'm thankful that Cheryl was there, because if she wasn't and Chris wasn't there, I'd be questioning, like, am I going nuts? Because I know I was there and I remember this in detail.
Spiros, it makes it hard to move the district forward if we agree on something and then we act upon it and then we change the agreement. It just makes it hard, because this is going to have to be all redone. It's basically a mind change is what it's going to end up to be. And
I think something like this needs to be on the agenda. It needs to be voted on. There needs to be a record of it. I don't think we can discuss stuff like that exclusively in executive session and make agreements exclusively in executive session.
I think we talked in executive session, we talked about this, and then both Chris and Cheryl said that it doesn't need to be voted on. I think that's why we came to consensus and said, and then it was a whole Unadilla Valley thing. So I think we brought it up too, like, do we need to vote on? And they said, you don't need to.
And that wasn't the answer. Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to talk over you. That wasn't the early retirement incentive discussion?
No, that was something completely different, the early retirement incentive.
So what was that?
That was for teachers retiring.
Right. So what did we offer for the early retirement?
That was voted on and open. We'll have to go back and look at one of the agendas from the last time. Because we did vote on the early retirement and open.
That's the one I thought we did.
I just want to say about this incentive, to answer Pat's question, that it being like coercion, according to Chris, somebody from the CFTA suggested this incentive.
Correct.
So that because we want people to move over, we don't want to be afraid to move over because we need to save money as a district. There are people who are paying nothing for their health insurance. Why would they change? That's what the incentive was for. And I hope they don't feel like it's coercion or, like we're forcing their hand.
Is the person from the CFTA, whoever, Chris, is that person here? I think it might help to hear it from the horse's mouth for those who are concerned that we've misstepped through this. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Is
What
Lynn correctly articulating that this was a CFTA recommendation? Is that correct?
It was an idea brought forth. I don't want to say it was a recommendation. It was an idea brought forth by the CFTA. What I'm questioning is what are you guys looking to do? Are you looking to not do the incentive? I mean, at this point, what direction are you looking to go? Because he's probably on. I don't know. I'm trying to look through the list, but I'm just trying to understand what are you guys looking to not offer this?
Well, I can only speak for myself, Chris.
Or do you just want to make sure it's correctly done?
That's exactly right. And again, I'm only speaking for myself about this incentive. I'm okay with this incentive. To me, this incentive makes sense and is financially prudent. I just want to make sure we did it correctly.
Well, then
can I make a suggestion? Can I make a suggestion? Amy, make a motion to allow this. And somebody second it and have a vote. Because I think we're spinning our wheels here and you're going to be wasting time. If the concern is that we didn't do a motion, then make the motion. Unless anybody has questions on the incentive, make a motion in a second.
Okay, so get those questions now or during the discussion after the motion. Cheryl.
However the board typically does it.
There are a few people with their hands up, including a member of the CFTA. A rep, if you'd like.
Yeah, go ahead. Just first and last name, please.
Hi, this is Mary Ann of the Chenango Forks Teachers Association. I just wanted to clarify the form that Spiros Damatos was referring to was for the early retirement incentive at a local level. That's the model that was used for that. And the idea about a buyout form of $1,000 for people who wanted to try out Humana came up. It was brought up in discussions. It was just kind of an aside in one of the discussions that we had. And it's similar to the buyout that the CFTA members can take if they don't take insurance from the district. So that's where that idea came from. Just thought that might help.
Thank you.
Sure.
Who do we have next, Erin?
Right now we have Sandy Warner.
Okay. Go ahead, Sandy.
You just need to unmute yourself. Okay. You should be all set. Sandy? Okay, Sandy Warner. All right, I'll go to the next person, but I'll leave her in line.
Okay.
Okay. Do Gail Ryder, I believe.
Okay.
If you can just unmute yourself and say your name.
Go ahead, Gail.
Gail? Okay. We can go back to Bob. And I'll keep him in mind.
Okay.
All right, Bob is allowed to talk. If you just say your full name, please.
Bob Bundy.
Yep, go ahead, Bob.
I have two items. First one's for Kristen. You were called and asked who created the form that there's so much controversy revolving around right now. And the answer you gave at the time was that Superintendent Peck created the form and just used the boxes from the information that appeared at the town hall meetings. Which way is it?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. I never said Dr. Peck created the form.
Okay. You're saying that Dr. Peck did not create the form.
He did not, no.
Thank you. A second thing is, when an item is discussed in executive session, it has to be acted upon in open session. You can come to consensus, you can talk through it, look like you come to some type of agreement, but it has to go out in open session. It gives another opportunity for discussion, and then it has to be voted on. So I think Attorney Sacco needs to review her school law. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Bob. Next.
Going to bring Pat Lawton on. Okay, Pat, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Pat Lawton. I guess, Lynn, I wanted to say, I'm using the word that I did before, coercion, from some letters and some people I've talked about, and I don't mean that as probably as strongly as it is coming off. So I want to, clarify that. And it's not the incentive, it is the letter that was sent. And the fact that you were opting out and signing all these 50 spots saying that, you were giving up something that was better or equal to. That, I think, combined with this whole process is where those words are coming from. So it's not just the incentive. And following what Bob just said, my first comment on this whole incentive, and then when Joe went to the first lawyer, I don't think my question is answered. I want us all to become educated, and I thought, which I think Bob Bundy actually answered, if he is correct, and he is a past superintendent, I thought that anything with money had to be brought back to the public and actually had to be voted on. And so that's where the confusion was when I opened up the letter and saw this incentive situation. And, it may have been talked about. My point was it was never brought out in front of the public to any meeting that I can remember that I went to. So that's all I wanted to know. And I think that that's New York State education law, isn't it? And I want to know the correct things. So for down the road, we are all educated. And thanks again for listening.
Thank you, Pat.
Okay, we can try Gail Ryder again. Gail, are you there? Mr. Ryder? Okay.
Is that it?
I guess no, there's
Warner, Sandy
yep,
Warner.
let me see. We have, before Sandy Warner now, we have, the name on here is Chick. If you could just state your name, please. You need to unmute yourself. Thank you.
David Chiknowski. If I send the new form in to Kristen, is there a way I could get a response from you that the form was actually received, not lost? So I'm certain that I'm getting what I'm asking for.
Yes, sir. This is Kristen. I am that's one reason I asked for the phone numbers. I put the phone numbers on all the forms. I am contacting every retiree who returns the form and letting them know that the form is received. And I'm documenting that and sending that to Mark Petrino on a daily basis. So it is documented whether I spoke to the retiree, I left a message. There was one person who I'll go back to that the phone rang and there was no answering machine. So I will try multiple times. You know, if I can get through, I'll get through. But yes, I thought that was the best course of action to alert every retiree that their form was received. So that process has begun, has started from the very beginning.
Thank you, Kristen.
Very good.
Okay, we could try Sandy Warner again. Okay, Sandy, you're on. If you could unmute yourself. Sandy? You unmuted yourself, but we can't hear you. Okay, there's somebody new, says Sarah. Sarah, if you can unmute yourself and state your name.
Sarah Scultetti, a retired librarian. I thank you for clarifying the Tuesday, June 10th item. I called the district about that, the phone number that was at the top of the letter, and left a message, but I didn't hear back yet. So I'm glad that you clarified that. My question is, this says it's a PPO plan, but on the forms that we were going over, the Humana was an MAPD plan. Is that the same thing? Because the other PPO plans seem to be different. Thank you.
What was the plan to NAPD? What is that?
On the forms that were originally sent, where we went over everything at the town hall meetings.
Okay.
The Humana plan says it's a Humana MAPD. But the form that we have to sign says it's a PPO plan.
It looks like Cindy Wise is not here. If it's okay, I can address that if you'd like.
Cindy is still on.
Okay, I didn't see her. Cindy, do you want to address that?
Sure. Those are not opposite terms. They just represent different features of the benefit. The MAPD stands for Medicare Advantage, Pharmacy Design, maybe. I'm not even sure what the D stands for, but it's Medicare Advantage with prescription drugs. Oh, prescription drugs, that's it. And then the PPO just tells us that there's physicians that participate and physicians that don't participate. And on the design of this plan, we put the same benefits in place whether the doctor's in our network or isn't. And that's the beauty of it and the reason why you can go to any Medicare provider in the country. They're not, those two acronyms are not opposites. They both describe the same plan. So there's no, you don't, when you're calling a physician and asking if they accept the plan, you can always tell, I usually tell them it's a PPO plan and they readily understand that.
Okay, because with the Blue Cross, PPO is a different kind of thing than the Excellus Blue Cross Classic.
Well, a PPO is a universal term for all carriers, preferred provider organization. And it just means that you have preferred providers that have usually better benefits. And in the case for the Humana plan, we put the same benefits in there, whether we have a contract with them or not, whether they're preferred or not. Everybody gets the same benefit.
Thank you.
Sorry about the confusion. Insurance people are notorious for making up acronyms that just befuddle everybody.
Okay,
including myself.
Two things. One, if you're going to speak when we call on you with your hand up, if you can make sure your volume is up on your computer. Sometimes that's the issue. Make sure your mic volume is up. And Amy, how many times would you like each person to be able to speak?
Well, we've already had some in there twice, so I mean,
Yeah.
really, twice is, I think, plenty.
Okay, we'll try with Gal Ryder.
I'm one person. I mean, the rest of the board have.
Yeah.
Hello.
Go ahead, Mr. Ryder.
Hey, I made it.
You made it.
Need a few more buttons to push.
Go ahead.
Okay, now, you seem to be as confused as everybody else. Unfortunately, what you were referring to with the incentive was in the May 15th letter. Last paragraph in bold print. Now, I was on the committee, and other than the first meeting, there was no input from me, and I don't know about anybody else on the committee. The one question I have is the $50,000 cap after the first year. After the first year.
Okay.
I had heard nothing or seen anything until this letter of May 15.
Who can speak to that, Cap? Joe, can you speak to that? Chris?
Hi, this is Chris Wilkinson. I can speak to that.
Okay.
The 50,000 cap was just really kind of more for budgeting purposes. In the MOA, we agreed that we would continue to look at that, and if we exceeded that number or we actually got below 12,500, we would review and discuss. I think it is Humana's and ENB's, as well as I think the district's position, that I don't think we will even come close to the 50,000 in any differences between the two plans.
Well, I have been a proponent of switching to Humana, but understanding that it's really only a advantage to someone who has a family plan. And I have explained that to numerous people.
Well,
there is some substantial savings, and if it's equal to or better than, then it is a great deal for the retirees. But really only if they are under the family plan. There's not an awful lot of advantage to those who are just individually insuring themselves or the school on the 75-25 basis.
Agreed, and that was part of the reason why we discussed the $1,000 incentive, to try to encourage people to try it for a year, see what any differences there may be. And if you did it for a year, you get $1,000. And if you didn't like it, you can switch back to Excelis. The opt-out is available to those whenever there's an open enrollment period for health insurance. So this is an opportunity for people to test, and that was the idea.
Well, I have explained to retirees that are on the family plan that if it's equal to or better than, then there is a substantial savings to you as the individual and to you as the district. And there has been a great deal of confusion, and hopefully this will, straighten things up in a lot of people's minds, because boy, the internet is just a buzzing.
Yeah.
Hey, Amy,
okay, thank you.
Amy, can I take the screen back over really quick to May 7th, 5.2 on our agenda?
Yep, go ahead.
Hold on, let me get you.
Aaron, can I grab that quick?
Hold on one moment. Okay.
I know Mr. Bundy brought up the fact that what we did was illegal and it had to be discussed in open and switching the people over. But on May 7th, I believe, I gotta look at my notes, on 5.2, here is the addendum that the CFTA and the district agreed upon. And in this, which the board voted on 5-0, it talks about at the time of implementation or when a retiree dependent reaches Medicare eligibility, he or she will be automatically enrolled in the Medicare Advantage plan unless he or she completes the opt-out form. So I don't see how we can go back and undo that, Amy, when the CFTA and the board agreed on this MOA and it's out there and it says we're gonna move everyone to Humana and they need to move back. And this was May 17th, I believe, that this was voted on.
May 7th, I think.
May 7th.
May 7th. And it was 5.2 on the agenda.
I'm not doubting that we did that. I think what I personally couldn't remember was the $1,000. But regarding the opt-out, it was my concern, which I thought I had already made pretty clear, was how complicated it was for these retirees. I don't care what age they are. It's complicated. So that's my concern, is removing that frustration and the complication from it, which Kristen pretty well addressed with that letter.
Right, and I think that letter that Kristen, the second one that we showed tonight, I think that will make it much easier for the retirees.
Okay, we have more hands up.
We do. And have you decided as a board how many times you'd like somebody to be able to speak?
Board, can you unmute yourselves and?
I say twice.
Okay.
I see twice.
Normally it's one time in 30 minutes, and I know we haven't been keeping count, but I mean.
Okay. And that's on me, because this is a more focused meeting. It was, I wasn't keeping time. So that said, if we could just keep it twice. Mary, are you okay with twice? Let's keep it to a limit of 2 times, and let's just be respectful of everybody's time tonight, please. But we do want to hear you.
Okay, we're going to go to Melissa Stevens.
Hi, Melissa, go ahead.
Hey, thank you very much. I want to just circle back on something that Mr. Chick had asked about in terms of getting a confirmation that you've received the retirees' information. I think with all the confusion that's been going on, that it would be very easy to forget that you received a phone call or that a phone call might have been made. So might I suggest that a letter go out to the retiree that acknowledges the insurance that they have selected. That way there is a paper trail and it doesn't come down to a he said, she said on either party, should there be some type of dispute later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Who can speak to this? Kristen?
I guess that's up to the district. I mean, that's
Okay.
totally your call. I mean, there wasn't a discussion about acknowledgement at all. And so I'm happy to do whatever the district, what I'm, directed to do.
And I'll jump in and say that from a Humana standpoint, an acknowledgement will be sent out, but you may want something from the district acknowledging.
They're talking about the opt-out staying with Excelis, I believe, Cindy.
Oh, I thought you meant acknowledging which carrier that they've chosen.
If they're with Humana, they'll get the ID card.
That as well.
Right. So I believe what Melissa was asking for is if she was talking about my acknowledgement of the opt-out letters.
Okay, so Kristen, you communicate, you said daily with Mark of who those opt-out. Okay, great. So perhaps Mark could email, if email's an option, we go that route first. And then if not, could send a letter. Would that work? I'm asking Mark, would that work?
As long as I'm given an email.
Yep. Well, I say we go that route first, and then if there's not an email available, regular mail. Is that something we can agree to? I I don't want this to just be loose conversation. I want to, you know, dot I's and cross T's. So can we agree that people will get a letter, whether it's from email if it applies or snail mail, that they, of a confirmation of their opt-out? Board, can you speak to this, please?
I think there should be for clarity.
Okay. Lynn, Spiros, Mike. I don't see Mike for some reason. Oh, there's.
I'm fine with it. I mean, I don't have a problem with an acknowledgement.
Mhm.
If Humana's doing it already, I would think that people would realize if their company changed or not. But if we need to do a letter or whatever, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I have no problem with a letter going out from the district.
Okay, and Lynn, you didn't hear from me? Okay, so Mark, if you'll please just acknowledge through email if possible, if not through snail mail, that people have opted out and that's been received. That would be great. Thank you.
We only have one more hand. We have Sandy Warner.
Okay.
Sandy, you're on.
So, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Sandy.
Oh, perfect. Okay. First of all, I am Sandy Warner, and I retired 16 years ago after being at the district for 26 years as a administrative assistant in various buildings. However, I am very, very disappointed that throughout this whole insurance process, not once has any consideration been given to the support staff. In all these letters, in all of these Zoom meetings that I've been attending, there's never been a mention of support staff. So I get a letter saying that, oh, I'm automatically enrolled in Humana. And I thought from the meeting with Blue Cross and Blue Shield that I would have a choice, because I didn't realize that all of this insurance pertains only, the decisions pertain only to the retired teachers. And that's very, very upsetting to me and to the other support staff members. We feel like we paid into the insurance all the years that we were there, like 26 for me. And now all of a sudden we are not giving the same choice that all retirees are. And I'm not sure if the board is aware of this, that all of this insurance stuff that you all worked on only pertains to the teachers, the retired teachers. All of the rest of the retirees have to go to Humana. Now, this letter that was sent out with the packet, I understand that there was one member in the support group that I was in, received that packet. Well, why did she get a packet saying that she could opt out of Humana and stay with Blue Cross and Blue Shield? She was the only one that I'm aware of that got it. Maybe it was a mistake, maybe it wasn't. But I don't understand why the support staff has not been given the opportunity to stay with Blue Cross and Blue Shield, like all of the other retirees except the support staff. In addition, my question that I've been receiving from a lot of the support staff is the Humana coverage going to be the exact same for the support staff that it is for the retired teachers? It seems that we've been left out, and we're wondering if our coverage is going to be the exact same. And apparently there's this $1,000 incentive. Well, would I get that? I never knew about that until it's been mentioned, because I didn't get that packet that included that in. So apparently there were two letters that were sent out, one that went to the retired teachers and one that went to the retired support staff, except for one or maybe two people, I don't know. But I don't understand why we are being treated differently. We work for that district in most cases, in many cases, longer than some of the retired teachers have. And I think that we're being treated very unfairly and we're not being listened to. And I'm wondering if the Board of Education even realizes that we are being treated differently.
Cindy, can you speak to Humana coverage first?
Sorry, I'm not fast. No, the coverage is exactly the same for everyone that's employed by Chenango Forks. There's no difference.
And Chris, can you address the first part of her question with the support staff via the teachers?
The decision was made based upon language in bargaining unit contracts, and based upon that and legal review, the decision was to, supported by the Board of Education, to send out 2 different letters.
Could you refer to what exactly in the bargaining unit contract says that I do not have a choice? I have a copy of my contract right here, and I have read it and reread it and read it. In fact, actually, my name is on it as a signature. I was on that negotiating committee. So I don't understand why whoever can just arbitrarily say, oh, well, stick it to you non-teaching or teaching, I'm sorry, support staff, because this is we're gearing all this towards the teachers only. It's very, very disappointing.
Can anyone speak to the contract?
The attorney that did the review is not on the phone call tonight. We can get an answer for that question.
Amy, I believe, and Cheryl, correct me if I'm wrong, this went through Nate Van Wyatt Coughlin. He was the acting attorney.
I'm sorry, what was that?
No, I was asking Cheryl Sacco. This went through Nate Van Wyatt Coughlin Gerhardt, correct?
I think Nate did look at this yet. Yes.
And that's where the legal decision came from.
Yeah, but there's nothing in the contract that says that we will have at retirement different coverage than all the other retirement. There's absolutely nothing in the contract that says that. Because
you pointed out that you're in a different union and you have a different collective bargaining agreement, and you were treated differently during the time you were employed, and you're treated differently based upon your collective bargaining agreements at the time in which you retire.
No.
So the collective bargaining agreement that you have is different than that the teacher has, the teacher union has.
That's correct. That's incorrect. I was not ever treated differently when I was an employee there. And when I retired,
you had different salaries, you had different percentages, you had what you had under your collective bargaining agreement.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is the insurance company never changed, irregardless of the percentages that we had to pay or the percentages that we didn't have to pay or whatever. That was set by the contract. But as far as I can remember, Chenango Forks has been with Blue Cross and Blue Shield forever. And now we're changing. And I'm feeling that the district is trying to make up budget arrears on the backs of the retirees. And I have, like I said, I have my contract right here in front of me, and there is no indication that says anything that I get something different than any other retiree in the district.
I can't speak to this. I don't have a contract. I can't speak to it.
Well, you probably have to here and send you a copy of the contract from, let's see. Oh, I didn't get page 1. Well, let me see, it was signed. Scrolling down. It's the contract for 2004 to 2007 for the Chenango Forks administrative staff, Chenango Forks Administrative Support Group. And as far as I know, every contract from this one on, the retirement clause regarding the insurance has never changed, except for the percentages that people would pay depending on the year that they were hired.
Okay.
So again, I don't know, is the board even aware that the support staff has not, I asked if I could be on that committee for retirement, or the insurance, and I was told that they wanted to keep the committee small. Okay, so that means to me, support staff just doesn't matter, even after 26 years of service or more.
Okay, so Joe, can you speak to the committee and board? I feel like I'm being hung out to dry here. I cannot speak to this, so what is our plan? I don't want to leave people feeling ignored. I'm not saying we can.
Amy,
Can I make a point here? Can I make a point? The point is that legal, both Chris Wilkinson and my office reviewed or looked at pieces of this. And I understand, but we're not going to go through a legal analysis right now on a specific collective bargaining agreement. I wasn't the one that did it. And obviously I have a family emergency. So, and the board was well aware, because I remember this conversation too, that different collective bargaining agreements result in different coverages, both during employment and post-employment in retirement. So you have a specific union that's making an allegation. So here's the thing, we'll check this and have a conversation. You're not going to resolve this right now in an open meeting.
I'm sorry, Cheryl, you cut out in your last sentence. I did not hear you.
So what I said was, you're not going to resolve this in an open session like this. My suggestion would be direct and ask Chris Wilkinson and Nate from my office to look at the specific, she said the contract, hopefully Chris wrote it down, and we can look at that, and legal can say whether they affirm their opinion previous.
Okay.
We're not going to be able to deal with it right now. Not. Nobody's hanging you dry, but your very specific questions. Open session is not, you need to respond to each person's individual questions. I know this board does it as a courtesy to pop of a concern and a question. We'll look into it.
Okay.
Would you like to continue on with questions, or would you like to move on?
Well, no more repeats, please. And because we have two that haven't had a chance yet,
Yep.
and I've seen their hands up for a while.
Yep, I will get them on. This is Marianne.
Go ahead.
I just want to verify something. The end, what we're supposed to do now. We're supposed to get a piece of paper from Joe, sign it, and send it to ENV. They then send it back or communicate with the office, and we will hear from Chenango Forks that it has been received. Is that true?
Marianne, if you can hold that for a minute, when everyone's done talking, I would like 100% clarification exactly what's going to happen next. And I would like that to come from the board so I know exactly what I'm to do. So can we just hold that for a minute? Because I think we really need to summarize this call up on our next steps.
Agreed.
Okay, I'll
All
go
right,
to
let's hear from Vicki, and then we'll go back to Joe.
Okay, Vicki, I believe you're on.
Yes, Vicki Quatler. I have two thoughts at this point. I am aware that there are some retirees who are still not back in New York, and I'm concerned that it took quite some time for them to receive the information from the district, and I'm concerned if a new letter is to go out, that they would receive it in time to reply. So that's something that I think needs to be considered. The second thing is...
Vicki, can I stop you on that one really quick?
Yes, you may.
Vicki, if you have emails for those individuals, and if you give me those emails, I'll make sure they get their letters by email.
Okay, I will forward those to you. I will speak with them and forward those to you after I know what the plan is, after the board makes that decision. Secondly, I also have had calls from several retirees outside of the Teachers Association bargaining unit. And I feel that I want to be helpful to them because they are older and they are very concerned. And so I was wondering if there is a contact person whom they could contact. I would be with them so that I could help bring clarity to the discussion. These are people that are a little bit older, that don't have computers, that are scared, and I feel moved. I want to be able to help them, but I'm not sure that they have the information that they need. And again, they are not in the Teachers Association. They are in other bargaining units, and I do not have the information to help them. Am I making myself clear?
Yes.
One had she was an administrative assistant, and the other is the wife of a bus driver back when the bus drivers were employed by the district. and her husband has passed, and she did not receive a packet, although she's aware that there's a packet, and so she would like some help with that. So if there is a person or a contact, I would be sitting with these people and would be willing to accept a call and some help with this so that I can help them.
And who's the person, the contact?
With
Go
the
ahead, Joe.
You're muted, Kristen.
I don't think the information that they would need or I would need to assist them would come from ENV. I think it relates to their bargaining unit contract or their the language there that's within that.
Okay, Chris Wilkson, are you still here?
I am.
Chris, is that something we could help out with?
To send the bargaining unit contracts? I guess
No, she's asking about a contact person to discuss the bargaining unit contract and how it applies. Is that correct, Vicki?
Yes. They're concerned that they did not receive a packet, and I understand what you're saying, why they may not have, but if they would like to review the contract or the working document that they were employed under, who would be the person to address this issue to?
Chris, is that something you can do?
I will certainly be the contact person, but I will certainly facilitate with one of the district's attorney, Coughlin and Gerhardt. But if that would be me, if you would like it to me, I will certainly help facilitate and answer any questions that I can. But ultimately, I would prefer that opinion come from our attorneys.
Isn't there someone at the district they can talk to first so we can make sure it's something that needs lawyer intervention? It's not something simple that can be answered by Joe or somebody else in the district?
I'm more than happy to Zoom call with you and any retiree that wants to Zoom call. I mean, if you want to use me as your first point of contact, I am more than happy, but I have to echo Chris. If it gets real technical and legal, I'm going to have to call in Coughlin and Gerhardt.
But Chris is our technical and legal labor relations, which would be contracts, right? Which is exactly what we're talking about. Isn't that right?
Yes and no. I do not represent the district or what I feel is any kind of legal action as a result of these.
We're gonna this is Cheryl. We're just gonna have to see what the questions are, because some questions the district can answer, some questions Chris can answer, some questions Coughlin can answer. And to be honest with you, if someone's looking for personal legal advice, they're gonna have to have their own attorney. So my suggestion is have an initial contact person who's a district. You're not driving your costs up with an LRS or legal. Let the initial person make the intake, figure out what it is, and they can run it up the flagpole as they figure out what's needed.
So Vicki, start with me. Start with me, Vicki. If I got to go to Chris for labor relations, I'll go to Chris. If I got to go to Cheryl for legal, I'll go to Cheryl. And if I can answer, I'll answer it. How's that, Vicki?
That's fine. I think I'm really reiterating what Sandy Warner said, in that she wants to confirm that her working document or her contract either does allow for the option of one of the three plans or it does not. And I think it's the same for these other people.
Right. Nate Van Wy from Coughlin looked at all the contracts, and that's where the district made their decision based on the legal advice of Nate Van Wy from Coughlin and Gerhardt.
And they did review the working documents for these people, the bargaining unit contracts?
He was given all the contracts. He was given individual contracts. He was given unit contracts, and he looked at all of them, and that's where all the advice from legal came from.
Okay, so if a person wants to review, then the contract could be made available if an appointment was made, or we did it over Zoom, or however this is to occur.
Yeah, Vicki, if you let me know what you need, I will get it to you, or I'll get you to the right person. All
right, I will do that. And yes, and please consider the my concern regarding the mailing and receiving, but I will forward you those emails. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll get them out by email, and then Vicky, if they want to return them by email as well, I'm more than happy with that too.
Okay, I see one more hand, and then we're going to have to be done with the comment portion of this, and then go back to Joe and the board. Go ahead, Linda Roby.
Linda Roby. Your new shorter letter, I think needs to include, there's another line item. It is under prescription drugs specialty, where it says, I understand I could have less coverage with Humana if the specialty drug is a generic drug and it depends on the tier. I just don't think you could admit that, omit that in your short letter. It's on the chart where we had to initial everything. There's another instance where I understand I could have less coverage with Humana, but the short letter doesn't include that. I don't think. I glanced at it, you held it up. I think it only included the international benefit being better with Excelis, but it didn't include under prescription drugs. I understand I could have less coverage with Humana. It did not include that, I don't think. I just glanced at it when you held it up.
The new letter's not going to have the chart, Linda.
No, I know, but the new letter states that everything is equal to or better except international. There's another instance where it's not equal to or better, so I think you need to, be accurate with that new short form.
Okay, we'll look into that because, okay.
Okay, am I explaining myself correctly? Do you?
Well, I'd have to take a look at that, Linda, and I apologize, I'm at home, but the prescription drug, and Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong, we mirrored the co-pays, so I'd have to look at it to look at where you're looking at.
I've never seen it before, but on this chart where we were to initial, under prescription drugs, under specialty, it says it depends on the tier, and I understand I could have less coverage with Humana. So if you're making a short form of the chart, I just would assume you'd include that too, as one of the instances that might not be equal to or better.
Okay. We'll take a look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about that tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. All right, Joe, go ahead.
Now, Amy, I need the board to give me a concrete summary of what to do next.
Okay, well, first, I think we need to do the $1,000 incentive properly. So I think we need to make a motion to do that. From that point on, let's discuss it and all come to an agreement. Is everyone okay with that? We start with the motion.
Go ahead, Amy, make a motion.
Okay. All right, well, I'm winging it. So if it needs to be corrected, I'm hoping Cheryl will. But upon recommendation of the Board of Education, a motion to approve the district to reimburse the retirees $1,000 if the retiree remains in the Humana plan for 1 year. May I have a motion?
It wouldn't be a reimbursement, isn't it, an incentive?
Well, I was just taking the words from the letter.
I don't know. Is Chris still on there? Could he help out with the wording?
Chris?
I think
Chris literally just got
just left.
It says in the letter reimbursement that was sent out.
Okay, I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Okay, may I have a motion, please? Spiro, sorry, is that your motion? Or was that a motion? Because we haven't done discussion.
I can motion if you want a motion, sure.
Oh, okay, and may I have a second, please?
Second.
Discussion?
I think Spirish had a good point about when you pointed out that two of us remembered the discussion in a different way than the others, or three of us, however many. And I think, again, it's a process there that we need minutes. from the executive session, so this doesn't come up. So that needs to be written down so we can review for this reason. And then follow the process to vote on it, which we didn't do in executive. And then take the formal vote in front of the community. So they see, we're voting on money, so it has to come in front of the community. We're spending their money.
Cheryl, can we I've been wanting to do this for some time. Can we legally take minutes?
So can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Discussion and roll call. Just let's not get muddied. Yes, you can do minutes. There's simple minutes in executive, but let's just stick with this because we go off on tangents and you lose track. So any more discussion on this motion?
Roll call.
Amy O'Brien.
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes.
Aye.
Mary Collins.
Aye.
Mike Vavra.
Aye.
Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. Okay, next. All right, what direction are we giving Joe?
I think you can send out a letter from the district saying what choice the retirees are doing.
Mike, the two that I screen shared earlier, are those the two I'm directed to send out?
I believe so, yes.
I'll agree with that, as long as it's the one with the correct date.
Agreed, the one with the correct date.
Yes.
All right. Lynn, I'm going to note correct date only.
Lynn's good at picking those out.
Okay, those two left, Aaron, you're on. You and I will get together in the morning and we'll get those and we'll hopefully get them out in the morning. Vicki Qualler's going to give me some email addresses to send to people that we're worried won't get them on time.
And as far as that goes with the people out of town, I believe Kristen said that she accepted some forms without the chart with all the initials on it. So if they already have the form, they can send that back without the chart. Is that correct, Kristen?
Correct, absolutely.
So they could do it with what they have.
Next, Amy?
Pertaining to this or next on my agenda?
No, pertaining to this.
Does the board have anything else? So where we are leaving this, we approved the $1,000 and now we are approving for the superintendent to send out the 2 revised letters. Anything additional?
The only is I became the point person for Vicki if people outside of the CFTA contract have questions, I believe.
Okay, I just have one comment. I think you should, and this is one person's opinion, where on the longer of the 2, well, okay, so not the opt-out form, the cover letter, it should not read, in my opinion, Chenango Forks Retirement Insurance Committee, because the Retirement Insurance Committee did not create this letter. So if it could be signed whomever created it, that would be great. Does the board agree?
Yes.
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 Yes, Spiros, yes, Mike, okay.
Aaron, we'll make that change tomorrow when we put the letter out.
Okay, are we good to move on? I'm asking the board.
I have a question. Can we look into this person from the administrative pool who supposedly got the same letter as the teachers? That oversight or what happened? I mean, not just make an agenda item to look into it tomorrow, Joe. And then
I was taking notes on that last thing. Can you repeat that? I apologize.
the person, Sandy Warner mentioned that a person from the administrative assistant pool or the support staff pool was received the letter that was supposed to go to the teacher. She didn't receive the one that was supposed to go to the support staff. Can we just look into that and find out what happened there?
We can. I can't guarantee that I can find it. I'm gonna have to go through everything. It may have just been a simple stuffing in the wrong envelope type of deal, Lynn.
That's fine.
But we can, Aaron, you and I can take a look for that in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
and try to correct it.
And then the person Vicky mentioned who did not receive the letter at all, her husband was a bus driver. Perhaps we don't have the correct address for her.
Right. I think Vicky's gonna give me that person's email. Is Vicky Qualler still on? Aaron, can you unmute Vicky Qualler for a
Let
second?
me see. Yep, she's on.
Well, we should update whatever address we have for this person just for any future things that go on.
Okay, Vicky's available.
Vicky, the person who didn't get the letter, can you let me know who that is tomorrow? I don't want you to do it over a board meeting, obviously, confidentiality.
You know, she does not have a computer, but I can let you know, and I do have a contact number, but yeah, I can let you know that in the morning.
All right, and Vicky, you have my phone number, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Is there anything further from the board? Okay. Second under my report, hopefully far quicker than this, absentee ballots. Just a couple concerns. First is,
Amy, before you go in, can we let Cindy Wise and Kristen Wall go, please?
I'm fine with that. Can we get thumbs up from the board, please? Yep. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Kristen.
Ladies, thank you very much.
Can I say one more thing about the health insurance? I want to thank Gal Ryder for supporting this change and for helping to point out that there is a savings to retirees if they want to take advantage of it, and it is their choice. I feel for all the retirees, for all the letters we've received. I understand how difficult this is for them, and it's difficult for us too, as a board, to have to figure out where this money is coming from with all the increasing costs that we're facing and the budget cuts from the state that we're facing. And I just want them to know that we do feel for them. And we hope everyone is happy when this is all over with. And we're sorry for all the confusion and stress this has caused everyone.
Agreed.
Very well said. I would like to echo that too. That was never the intention when the district tried to start this before COVID to make the retirees have this much angst. And I apologize on behalf of the superintendent's part. And definitely was not my goal either. So Lynn, that was very well said.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so regarding absentee ballots, I have two concerns. And just so everyone is aware, this was a mandate from the governor. And somehow that I can see it only applies to schools because county votes there are polling places. So speaking for myself, this is very frustrating that we've been mandated to send out absentee ballots to everyone. However, that said, concerns I have, as well as others, is where does voter privacy play in? Because when we go to a polling place, we show our identification to prove who we are, and then we go behind a curtain and we vote. With the absentee ballot, our vote is with our identification. So how are we protecting privacy?
So Amy, this is Cheryl.
Mm-hmm.
So the process what's happening is the exterior of the envelope should have some information. Once the exterior is verified that you're a qualified voter,
mm-hmm.
and this is going to be a process, don't doubt this, and everybody's working through this, but this outside envelope is separated from the actual inside ballot
Mm-hmm.
where the ballot is opened.
Yep.
And so that you're not opening the outside ballot and going, oh, this is Cheryl Sacco's ballot, opening it up, oh, look, she voted for X. You're separating it and saying, oh, this is Cheryl Sacco's, this is her signature, this is her address, whatever we're going to be able to use to say, yes, the person's a qualified voter, and then you're separating that and you're putting them into two piles. So, and then at a certain point, we're going to start counting the ballots. Yes for the budget, no for the budget. Yes for this candidate, no for this candidate, a write-in. They're not going to be looked at. They're not going to open it and say, oh, here's Amy's, look, Amy voted for herself. and she voted for the budget. That's not what's going to happen.
Okay. Two more concerns. Will there be a neutral party counting? Are they district employees? What is the plan for going through the process?
I don't know, Aaron, can you unmute yourself? I know you've been working with Nate in the office about a game plan.
It's with what was approved. It's going to be myself and 3 district employees who were approved as like clerks for it. And Nate is coming to the school at 5 o'clock when we begin counting. The only problem is I don't know how long it will take to count, but could possibly
Can you just tell everyone
thousands
who
of
Nate
votes.
is, Aaron? Because most people
He's
probably don't.
Nate Van Wy is one of the attorneys with Cheryl, and he'll be coming to the district.
CF traditionally has had legal counsel at the opening and at the closing of all of its elections to make sure that as much as that is done is done correctly. I think the game plan for this one is to have Nate there for, if necessary, for the majority of the counting, to answer any questions and to deal with it. So he's going to be there, which is unusual. I think you're the only district that has asked for this.
Really?
But I can see that.
Okay.
I think,
wow.
yeah. You're the only district. We have one other district that we typically open and close the polls for. But I think, unless the board says you don't want legal there for the entire piece, I would definitely have them there for the beginning and the end. We can see how easily it's going.
Right.
I'll be honest with you. There's some hiccups in here. When the governor does the executive orders, it's not always somebody who helps him draft these, who is in the actual line of what they're doing. So I doubt they have a school district clerk who's sitting in with the governor saying, oh, by the way, we have registration books, or we're not a registered district. And what do we do here? And we require ID, or we don't require ID. So it's really, he's painting things with a broad brush, which I understand why he's doing it. I'm not complaining, I'm not criticizing, but taking those broad instructions and actually making them legal, fair, anonymous, in practice is going to potentially be difficult. So.
And can you speak to one more area of concern, which was brought to my attention, is there's some households, and an example would be husband and wife live in the household and their 3, 4, however many grown children are no longer living with them, yet they received ballots for all of the family, even though they're not living there. Can you speak to that?
So that's going to be part of the review. It's going to be part of the process. It's going to have the address. And I think, and again, I'm going to look to Aaron, I think the game plan is to start alphabetizing, not touching the internal envelopes, but alphabetizing and checking the external envelopes. And if we get 2 that says John Smith, we're going to have an issue.
Yeah, I'm going to start checking them as soon as they start coming in, partly because of the sheer volume.
I'm not talking about 2 with the same name. I'm referring to perhaps, and I'm not saying people would do this, but perhaps you have a husband and wife who received their kids' ballots, their kids don't live there anymore, and they're filling out their kids' ballots and sending them in.
So it's voter fraud. That's voter fraud. They should not be doing that. People still can come in and contest voter qualifications. So if we see that mom and dad are voting for kid 1, 2, and 3, and we know that kid 1, 2, 3 are not living there, we can pull that aside. And, it could be an actual offense. It could be I hate to use the word a crime, but it could be voter fraud. So obviously, Aaron, and this is part of the reason why legal's there, is we have to be very careful and do the best due diligence we can. Do we have issues when people come to the polls and have old addresses and old driver's license and they've moved and they vote anyway? Yes. That happens. I know it happens. But we're just going to have to do as a district the best we can do. And we really hope that people in the district are honest and fair and having their 1 vote count. And that's all I can say is I hope the voters recognize that and abide by that.
Thank you. My questions have been answered. Do any other board members have any questions pertaining to absentee ballots or the process? Okay. I'm all set, Joe. Go ahead.
Did you want any questions or comments from the attendees regarding this?
Sure. I only see 2 hands. Let's take those 2 and then we're going to move on.
Okay, I'll keep it at 2. Okay, Melissa, if you could state your full name, please.
Hi, my name is Melissa Stevens, and my one concern, I opened up the materials, and on the outer envelope that goes back to Aaron, it is indeed just a generic envelope. But when you take out the inner envelope that's got my ballot in it, that's where it's got my signature, my date, all of my important information. So what I'm hearing Cheryl, the attorney, say is that someone's going to open up, they're going to see that I'm valid, they're going to open this up, and they're not going to look at how I voted, and they're just going to put it in a pile.
That's how I understand it. Is that correct, Cheryl? The outside of the inner envelope.
Yeah,
with name and
sorry.
address. Okay, go ahead.
I couldn't unmute myself for some reason. I apologize. Yes, I mean, obviously, the goal here is anonymity. We're not looking to try to figure out who voted where. So yes, and again, legal's going to be there. This isn't everybody's looking at these. This is going to be tried to be done in the most professional way possible.
Right, and I understand, and I happen to be one of the families that have 2 adults with 3 grown children that are gone. Now, you know, Erin knows me, and so when mine came in, if she saw my kids also coming in, she's going to know that there's something awry. But if somebody else is doing the counting that doesn't know that Melissa and Craig's 3 kids are gone, I have a real concern over that. And I have a concern with that, not only with school, you know, board voting or budget voting, but budgeting at a whole when it comes to absentee ballots. So I know, Cheryl, I hear you saying hopefully Melissa and Craig Stevens are not going to write their 3 kids' names down, which, by the way, we wouldn't. But that's not to say that somebody else wouldn't do it. And that is a concern if you want to get an accurate vote. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. Patty Moss.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Patty Moss. I just wondered how many people are on this feed. Like, how we don't have access to how many people are listening.
There are 65 attendees and 10 panelists, so there's a total of 75 people on right now.
Okay, that was it. I wasted one of my questions for that, but that. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Okay. 2.2, Superintendent's Report.
Yeah, just go to board docs. Okay, 2021 budget. I want to talk to the board about our reserve percentage, which is at 4%, is deemed by New York State education law. I would like board approval to supersede that 4% for this year because of COVID-19. Any more aid cuts we'll get by Governor Cuomo. Right now, I had a meeting a little less than a week ago with CBO, and we're almost at 7% in that fund, which leaves us over just a little bit of $1 million going forward into next year. I strongly urge the board to let me go over the 4%, and that will help us budget out any cuts from Governor Cuomo and anything else we see come down the pipe from state ed. It is my professional opinion, the worst that's going to happen to us is get a slap on the wrist. I may get a letter from the state saying I'm a bad superintendent and don't do that again. But the payoff is we will have that for salaries and going forward into the 2021 school year. And it's right now it's roughly about $700,000 to $800,000 extra if we do it that way. Does anyone on the school board have an issue with going over that 4%?
No.
I want to jump in on this because I've said this for years. I know I got into an argument with CBO about this because we had a few years ago had a year that we knew was coming up that was going to be troubled. I don't know if anyone remembers this, and we were over the 4%. But again, because of the state's rules, we had to spend it down. And then at the following year, you know, we don't have the money. And I think this is how school districts get into a lot of trouble. It's just it's ridiculous. And I absolutely will take the smack on the hand and the bad press, and you can say whatever you want about me, but I'm not one for laying off teachers because we basically have to spend down money that we have. It's just a ridiculous practice that the state needs to fix.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll make
I don't
it,
need a formal motion or vote, do I, for this? I want to make sure we do it right.
So we can legally do this?
not really,
Define legally, Lynn.
not really.
We're gonna get slapped on the hand, but we're gonna take care of our teachers and our students and our parents.
But is that,
The
we're not gonna
state could
get,
cut our, the governor is saying there's a good possibility he's going to cut our state aid mid-year,
right,
depending on what receipts come in. So, I mean, if he wants to go after us for this, we'll just take the hit. It's just, how could we not? I mean, he's going to change the game mid-year, and we have to still play by the rules, but he doesn't.
I have a feeling a lot of districts are going to do this, Lynn.
yeah, I just want to know legally, can we vote on this and say, yeah, we're gonna do this? And
Legally, you're not supposed to do this. Practically, it's a different story.
So we don't need a vote. This is recorded. If I have 5 people telling me I can do it, then I'm more than happy doing it.
Yes.
Yes.
Do it.
Mary, you're muted. Mary, you're talking, but you're muted.
I said yes, but just a quick question. You said, I don't know if it was Spears or who said it, that you had to spend money on something you really didn't want to spend it on just to get it down. Do we have an alternate plan if we do have money left over, what we could do that wouldn't waste our money? That's just
Any money left over, we're going to supersede the 4%. So we won't have anything that's left this year, Mary. Like, you know how we do the one-time expenditures? We've done the tennis court in the past. We've done different things.
Yep.
We're just going to take all that, supersede the 4%. Then if next year we run into a tough year, we'll have that money in the budget. Or if the governor comes in December and says, I'm going to cut $500,000 out of your state aid, we will have that pot of money to go to that we normally wouldn't have. So
okay.
We're going to run the school kind of for a minute like you'd run your own bank account. And we're more money than we can in our savings account for that rainy day. I mean,
Okay.
So if we don't need to dip into that pot, where does that money go?
It stays in the general fund.
So we'll move it back, we'll bring it back down to the 4% and add it to the, how do I ask this question?
What you'd have to do, Amy, next year, if we came into May or June and you were still way over that 4%, which I don't see being possible, then you would have to spend it down unless the board decided that we could do it 2 years in a row.
Got it.
Or you could put into a reserve.
Right. But you'd have to move it back under that 4%, either way you look at it.
If we get to this time next year and we have money that, you know, and I'd be shocked. We've talked about before doing like a building repair reserve. Was that something, Mark? Was that what it wasn't called a repair reserve, but it was something like that.
A repair reserve.
Oh, it is a repair reserve. We
Yeah.
talked about doing that before, and that way we could basically offset, put money in that reserve and offset things out of a future budget where we had problems, you know, deficits in. So, I mean, it's not like we're not going to spend this money on gum and candy. We're going to spend it on things that we need for the district. But at the same time, if we put it into a reserve now, we won't have access to it to save positions or whatever else in the future. We would only be able to spend it on building repairs, which is great to fix the building up, but it's not great if we don't have anyone to staff it.
So Spiros, to piggyback on that, I do not plan, unless you tell me differently as a school board, to fund the capital reserve this year.
I don't want you to, personally, my opinion.
I thought that was a given, so yeah.
Well, no, we're going to budget it, but what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to stop all expenditures going forward. I'm going to stop, and Bernie McDermott's on the call, and he's going to come through the screen. I'm going to stop the paving at the bus garage. That's going to be a savings. So we're going to take all that money, and that's how we're going to get over the 4% up in the $1.2, $1.3 million range.
Did you say paying the bus garage or painting the bus
Paving,
garage?
I'm sorry, Spiros, paving.
Oh, paving, gotcha.
Paving. Painting we can do cheap. Paving is expensive.
so there's no financial, this slap on the hand, it's not gonna be something financial the district has to deal with.
No, you're going to be on the front
Finance.
page of the Press and Sun saying, you know, Chenango Forks and 18 other schools went over their 4% this year.
Okay.
was that an okay yes or?
Yes.
Okay.
I just think it's smart to do. I mean, to spend it down and then look at trying to trim your budget in December makes absolute sense. I mean, this will give us a cushion that we can get through the next school year, in my opinion. And I think, Mark, if you want to shake your head and agree with me or shake your head no and disagree, but it's definitely going to give us a cushion to make sure that we can keep our teachers for the whole school year. I know that people are still worried about that. And this way, that's going to ensure that we don't have to, have mid-year layoffs. So
right.
I think it's very intelligent to do on the behalf of the school board's part. So thank you for letting me do that. Next, really quick, I want to bring you guys up to speed. We have a very active graduation committee, and we're really trying to work hard on graduation and what that's going to look like. The problem is we don't have a lot of guidance from the state right now. We've actually submitted 3 proposals to Jason Carter's office for him to look at, and he's going to get back to us. But in the meantime, we've decided to do a few things, and I've shared the letters with the school board of what I've sent to the seniors and their families. We are going to provide all the seniors with school mugs and t-shirts customized for the seniors. We're going to do a lineup day where the seniors walk from the elementary to the high school, from starting with their lower grade teachers, kindergarten, all the way up to their 12th grade teachers. We're going to put banners on the River Road fence. The banners were in. Hopefully we can get to that on Monday at 9 o'clock. I haven't even emailed the committee yet to let them know. I just got that information before the board meeting. And we're also going to let the seniors social distance with masks that we're providing as a district to decorate the school parking lot and the building and have their cookout like they do every year. So if the board wants to participate in any of that, just let me know. I have all the dates and times, and they were in the letter. But those 4 things committee is picked out to do for the seniors, and we're financing that mostly by private donations from companies we work with. Kaufman Gerhardt made a nice donation. Thank you, Mrs. Sacco, for that. And some other companies have donated to buy these things for the seniors. We also did Adopt a Senior, where each senior was adopted by a staff member, and they're getting gifts either delivered to their house or in the mail. So we understand that COVID has really taken a lot from our seniors and all of our students and teachers. But those are things that the graduation committee has deemed that we're going to do, and they're all in the works. Any questions from the school board on those 4 items?
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you. Again, a shout out to Tim Simons, Mike Vaver, Spiros D'Amato, Drew George Wright, Aubrey Hartrick, Cindy Fendick, and I'm missing Dante Bovantic, who are all on the committee. So they've worked really hard to get this done. So, and Dan Palmer. Dan, I'm sorry, I almost got Dan Palmer. So again, it's something we've on. And if this board wants to participate in any of those events, just let me know. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. 3.1, budget hearing presentation, Mark Petrino.
Aaron, you want to pick that up?
Yeah.
Okay. This is 2021 Chenango Forks budget hearing. The budget development process consisted of 4 items. We first submit out to all the teachers and department heads their needs for next year, and then they return those in. Then we look at staffing levels, and then we review state aid and revenue sources, and then the discussion and adoption of the budget. Next page. Not much new in the budget this year. We tried to keep it very minimal. We maintained all staff and programs, and we have a reduction in health insurance costs. Next. The expenditure budget, salaries and benefits, increase of $518,838. Debt service is increasing $8,900. OC services are increasing $200,401. Contract transportation, Bernie Bus is increasing $49,975. Utilities and fuel, we are decreasing $8,335. And other expenses, total decrease of $708,703 for an increase over last year's budget of $61,166. Next page. Now this budget is broken down into three parts: the administrative portion, program portion, capital portion. The administrative portion increased over last year $25,196. The program portion decreased $329,073, and the capital portion increased $365,043 for a total increase of $61,166. Next page. And this details the administrative component. And you can see, I'm not going to go through each item, but that brings you up to the $25,196,000 increase. The next page would be the program component in each individual item. And the next page would be the capital component. Next page. This is the revenue budget. Tax levy is going to increase $261,754, which is our limit, our tax cap limit. State aid, roughly an increase of $129,800, but that is just the, that's not foundation aid increase because that was held flat. That's basically due to BOCES aid, transportation aid, building aid. That's where that is increased came from, because that is based on your prior year expenses. Other revenue, we see a decrease of $341,392. Reserves, $11,004 increase, and appropriated fund balance stayed the same. Next page. The small capital project that we are going to do next year will be phase 4 of the elementary playground project, which will be the base. And building aid, we get building aid on this 90% is aided from the state, which is a net cost to the district of $10,000. Next page. We are renewing the summer transportation contract for next year. Is a 6.2% increase for $39,409, and the following year the increase would be 3.5%, which would be up to $40,788. That's just for the summer only. Next page. The proposed tax levy, it's 2.18% or $261,754. Next page. And that matches our tax levy limit of 2.18%. Next page. The projected tax increase on a $100,000 home at full value before STAR is going to be roughly $51.84 for the year, or $4.32 per month. But that is based on current equalization rates and assessed values. And again, this is will not, it's not going to be final, only because every town has their own equalization rates and assessment values. So every town will be different, but this is an average. Next page. And here are the town STAR exemption savings based on each town. You have the basic saving and the enhanced savings. Next page. Changes to STAR. These were the same changes as last year, no different. No difference in changes. And I just wanted to let everyone know that the STAR, or not STAR, but the rebate you got back from the state if your district stayed within the tax cap levy that they were allowed, that law has expired, so that rebate is not going to be coming out anymore. Next page. The contingency budget. Under contingency, the district budget would be reduced for all non-computer hardware equipment, the small $100,000 capital project, $11,900 of administrative costs, and $85,854 program costs. So if the budget doesn't pass, we'd go out, you would have the option of going out to a second vote or going straight to a contingency. And if it failed after a second vote, you would go straight to contingency, which means the tax levy would be the same as last year's tax levy. And the budget would be the same as last year's. Next page. The budget vote is done by absentee ballots, and they must be received by June 9th by 5 p.m. Next page. Any questions?
And I know you just said this, Mark, but if you could reiterate once more what the tax levy is and what it means. And we're speaking regarding proposition number 1, which is the budget, and what it means if you vote yes, what it means if you vote no. So if we could just sum it up by going over that one more time, please.
The tax levy, what the tax levy is?
Right. Yeah, what a tax levy is, just a tax levy in general. And because there's a difference between the levy and what your tax increase is. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
The tax levy is 2.18% increase, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's what your taxes are going to go up, because it always depends on your assessed value of your home, and it also depends on the equalization rate in the town that you live in. But they're usually around this, everything's always around that 2%. And as far as the budget, voting yes, you're voting for the budget of 34,356,239, which is an increase of $61,166 over last year's budget, which is 0.18% of an increase. Again, so we didn't really increase it. We pretty much stayed almost the same as last year's budget. The reason that taxes increased is because the revenue from the state does not keep up with our expenses. So because the state aid was not what we thought it was, that's why you're going to see, the budget didn't increase like normally it did. Voting no is, again, you're voting no that you don't want to see that increase.
And then there would be a second vote. Is it potentially a second vote, or there is a second vote?
The board would have to decide whether they want to go out to a second vote with either change with the same budget, or changing the budget, or going straight to a contingency budget.
Okay, and that contingency budget would be?
Would be $94,094,484.
Okay. I just wanted to make it very clear for those who are voting what exactly they're voting for. So thank you. I do not have any additional questions.
I have a question about the summer transportation contract.
Yep.
Are we doing any transportation this summer?
That we haven't heard. Well, no. I don't think we are doing any summer, because I believe the governor said there was no summer school. Is that correct, Joe?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no in-person summer school.
Right. So there will be no transportation, but we still have to do the contract. That they're not, not going to actually get paid.
Okay, so that money's actually not going out then.
Not unless something changes.
Okay.
Lynn, I don't know on purpose, but you're not on the screen anymore, Lynn. Is that on purpose?
It was. I forgot to turn it back on.
Oh, okay. Totally your call. I just didn't know.
I didn't want everyone to see me yawning. Sorry.
But that is a budget placeholder, in other words. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Does that answer it, Lynn?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions for Mark?
I had another question. What is debit service?
Debt service,
Yeah.
that's where you're paying off your bonds, your notes, the district's debt.
So it's our interest we're paying on our loans.
Well, it's your principal and your interest.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. Let's move on. Thank you, Mark. All right, 4.1, proposed executive session, subject to board approval. For consideration, a motion for consideration of executive session to discuss collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation, or matters leading to the appointment, employment, promotion, demotion, discipline, suspension, dismissal, or removal of a particular person or corporation. Discussions involving proposed pending or current litigation, contract negotiations, and investigation. May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Amy O'Brien,
Aye.
Spiros Tomatoes,
Aye.
Mary Collins,
Aye.
Mike Vavra,
Aye.
and Lynn Lockwood.
Aye.
Motion passed. And correct me if I'm wrong, board, but I do not believe we are taking any further action this evening. Is that correct? So we will, correct. Okay. So we will only be coming back into open to adjourn the meeting, for anyone who's wondering. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Hey, how do we get to executive? Is there another link? What do we do?
Separate.
You gotta send one out, Joe.
It should be a separate link.
Is there one already sent, or do I have to send one?
No.
No, you didn't send one.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna send it right now.
Yeah.
Bye.
I'll stay in here for when you come back to adjourn.